Okay, good deal. So next edition of the YouTubers Bunch, we've got 11 of us online tonight, and we're going to talk about what you use in your mobile radio station setup. Mostly probably kind of geared towards HF, but maybe some VHF, UHF, digital, D-Star, DMR, Yaesu System Fusion, whatever. This was a topic suggested to me by a viewer of mine. So if you have topics you want us to talk about, put a comment below, and we will be happy to do it. Let's get started.
Shut up and sit down.
Bummed that Hamvention isn't happening this year?
Yeah, so are we.
Just like you, we were looking forward to seeing all the new radios.
Antennas,
ham radio toys,
seeing all the industry folks,
learning new skills, and
getting the latest information on our hobby.
We were also looking forward to seeing other creators.
And having a beer or two.
or maybe a little crown.
Yeah, we were bummed.
But we came up with an idea.
We're getting together live.
But isolated.
And we want to bring you the latest,
The greatest.
And the largest virtual ham radio show ever attempted.
Ever.
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 Ever!
On Saturday, May 16th, 2020,
join all of us YouTubers
As we gather live on each of our channels.
And bring you everything new,
cool,
And amazing in ham radio technology.
join me.
Join me.
And me.
And
Some of these
guys.
All day Saturday
Along with
All of us.
for the YouTubers Hamfest.
We'll see you there, okay, guys? Later.
Okay, the first thing I want to do tonight, and I didn't do this in the last video because it was a little bit more heated than our normal thing. But Steve, tell me your call sign. W9.
Kilo Mike 9 Golf.
That was not close at all. Kilo
Very
Mike
close.
9. There was a 9 in there. I got that part right. So Steve.
Well, that
is,
doesn't say he's an extra. I don't know what does.
Yeah. What, that I can't count? Oh, you're talking about him. Never mind.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Steve, temporarily offline is your channel. You are new to the group as of today. So if you don't mind, take about 30 to 90 seconds and introduce everyone to your channel and tell us what you do.
Yeah, so I build kits and I play on the air. I'm going to do some portable stuff, and I do I don't know, anything to do with electronics, anything that I can do on a board. You know, I got Josh's cutting mat in the mail the other day, so I'm going to be using that. And you know, I try to experiment, try to learn something new, try to push my boundaries, and hope to bring everybody along and bring all the knowledge up another level, mine included.
Where did you get the name temporarily offline? Where does that come from?
So I actually used to build data centers a long time ago. I actually built and built and built and built, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then big players like Google started moving into the same space. And that was the writing on the wall. You don't do a small private data center shop when somebody like Google or Amazon's there. So I sold that. And when I sold it, actually along with it went my email address and my website and everything. And I was temporarily offline. Been that way ever since.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, man. We're happy to have you here. I know you've got a different perspective than everybody else, which is good, and appreciate you joining us tonight. So, okay, so the topic of tonight is, what do you use in a mobile radio setup when you're driving down the road, on a road trip, or just driving around town, or whatever? What antenna do you use? What radio do you use? Do you do HF? Do you do just VHF, UHF? Do you have a digital voice mode? Do you do CW? I know a guy who does CW, driving down the road. He built this big console, custom built. He's a woodworker. He built this big console, and he's got his, I think it's a 850, FT857, I think. I don't remember the radio, but he has a iambic keyer there, and he'll drive down the road and he's like, you know, of course, you don't have to look at it. You don't have to look at the face of the radio to hear it. So it's a great setup. I know a guy who does that, though. So
Me too.
It seems dangerous to me. I know you're not looking at it, but the concentration's got to affect you in some way.
You know what? I don't know, man. I mean, they've been putting car stereos in radios for years and years, and you listen to that also. So I don't know.
30 words a minute at 70 miles an hour.
It's about the same speed, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
Kind of works a mile.
Let me introduce everybody. We got Kyle AA0Z, Steve with temporary layoff line, which I'll remember your call sign one of these days. Josh KI6NAZ.
How's it going?
Sterling N0SSC.
What's up?
Mr. Bob K6UDA.
Thank you.
And Mike K8MRD.
Hi, Mom.
Rob with 741 N1 NUG.
Hey, guys.
Callum, the DX Commander. That's awesome. Steve, K5ATA.
It's going.
And the amateur radio operator formerly known as a Smoking Ape. So,
hello.
All right. Thanks, guys, for being here. Appreciate that. So this is a good group tonight. So let's talk about mobile radio setups. I've got it in the gallery view. So there's 11 of us on the window right now.
I'll dump it out there. I'll dump it out. Yaesu 891 into an ATOS 120 is my HF. And I have a Yaesu FTM 400 for VHF UHF. Now, I would like to see a revolution in the HF mobile radio in the car option for radios, personally. Because as I see it, there's really only two contenders in the market of a semi-modern radio. What are your thoughts?
So you're talking about, okay, using Yaesu and saying you want a revolution seems counterproductive to me, but that's okay.
No, there's not a lot of other mobile radios on the market.
No, you're right.
We've got the 891 and the 7100 basically is the most modern-ish radio.
So ICOM
started. HX 480 is a great.
Yeah.
And the 706 Mark II-G.
That was out of production.
No. I said modern. I said modern. You both reference radios that are getting a little old now. They're great radios, but they're a little old.
So ICOM started.
7 doesn't put out 200 watts either.
Well, okay. So ICOM started that revolution, in my opinion. The 706 was one of the first radios to do that, and then they had the Mark II, the Mark II-G, and then the A57 came out roughly about that same time, something like that. ICOM, which I like ICOM better than Yaesu, ICOM has dropped the ball on those types of mobile radios because even the IC7100, which is still in production, has that funky bezeled face on it. So Yaesu, if you want that type of radio, Yaesu is really the only game in town right now, and it pains me to say that. Not that I don't agree. Not that I don't. I really don't dislike Yaesu as much as I just like ICOM so much better. But
I just hate when I have to get into the menu on that radio. That's what bothers me so much. Operating the radio is fine, but then anytime I got to dive into that deep menu, I'm like, hang on, kids. Daddy has to stop looking at the road while we're driving down it right now because I've got to. No, I don't do that. I'm kidding.
And that is exactly why I do not do HF mobile because I just don't trust myself with a VFO.
Nobody else does either.
Yeah. And the citizens of California are grateful.
Mobile.
Yeah.
So I get the feeling that there isn't. Is there a HF, VHF, UHF modern flip-off front radio on the market at all?
No. Not for mobile. Not in a mobile application. I mean, we can all. I guess you could. No, you know what? Now I think about. I mean, what are you going to do?
The A57 is still in production.
It's not modern,
but that's not modern.
Still old.
No, you're right. It's not modern, but it's still in production. Okay, so the IC7000, in my opinion, was a much better radio than the A57, but they discontinued the IC7000.
Where are you going to fit that? Where are you going to fit a 7000 in a car?
It's the same size as A57. It's the same size as A57. 7000, not 7300.
Oh,
7000.
7000 is a nice radio. My dad's got one.
Yeah,
it's the same size as A57. Maybe.
Hey, you know what? A 705 with an amp.
Yeah,
and you mount the 7. You'll be able to mount that 7.
I'm curious if that's the way they're going. By the way, I think they might be going KX3 modularity. It's going to have because it's already got the pan adapter on it, so they just have to supply an amp, 705 amp, and then you're in there.
Well, that 7000 is not bad looking at all, guys.
Well, I'll tell you what I've got.
Great radio. I've got 2 of them.
I happen to have my old TS2000 and what is the RC2000 remote head, which apparently is like rocking horse doo-doo. right?
But it's also unicorn horn rare. Like you can't find those.
Just said.
I've put it all into my vehicle. So I've got, HF, VHF, UHF, and a couple of aerials, antennas, which I haven't got one of those Tar Heel things. So I've just got like 40 and 20 and a VHF, UHF. And, but that works well. In fact, I did a couple of videos all about that install, which was all about grounding as well, particularly for HF, which a lot of people found interesting. But I just didn't know any other solution that would give me a flip-off front with HF, VHF, and UHF. I just don't know.
I love the antenna you put on the tow hitch of that station wagon there, too, that estate.
I put a 10-meter whip, 33 feet.
Yeah, you see, and that's the other thing I can't get over is the amount of antenna you've got to stick on a vehicle, and you're rolling down the road, and either you look like the NSA tracking people, or
actually seen one of those bands,
or it's some god awful huge Tar Heel or high gain,
it's like clipping every tree and every power line as you go by.
I just can't get over that. That just doesn't do it for me.
Even ham sticks.
I would disagree with that, Bob. I don't have a permanent mobile HF setup yet, but I have a trunk mount with the 3/8 24 thread, and I put my Wolf River Coils Silver Bullet Mini on it with a 5-foot whip, and dude, that thing gets out. It's not
really
a big antenna. When that antenna is on my car, I work right down the street from a state park, so I go do parks on the air activations on my lunch break. I get out farther with that antenna on the car than I do. No radials, no grounding, nothing. Like it's that
was my next question.
Nothing.
What do you got for grounding? Because that if you're rolling down the road using that, I mean that engine has got to be just.
Well, that's why I don't have it set up permanently yet, because I don't have if the engine, I'm running battery power. If the engine's on, it's all kinds of noise. So, but it's very, very functional and very efficient, and it's not that big. I plan on getting a one of those Tar Heel minis. Those look like really great antennas. One of the guys in my clubs has one of those.
Tar Heel 2.
Whatever. It's like a mini Tar Heel. There's
the
one.
Tar Heel, the Tar Heel 2.
Little Tar Heel, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, it's called.
It's
Tar
only
Heel 2.
15 feet high.
No, it's like a 4 or 5 foot whip.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all loading. It's about the same size as that ATOS that Josh has.
So I will throw that out there. The key thing to all these is that your bonding is going to be a little task you got to do. It will perform much better for HF if you do bonding.
Yes.
And specifically your hitch. I have a hatchback. That's my Nissan Leaf, which is my commuter car. Bonding on the hatch, all the doors, the hood, any metal connected to metal, you want to use braid to connect those together, and that will help you immensely. I brought up the ATOS. The ATOS is configured to work with the 891 so that when you hit the tune button, it will automatically control it, but it will only work if it has a good ground. And so you'll know if you don't have a good ground because the antenna just flat won't work. But even a step further, if you have a car that has, ignition noise from the alternator, or if you're in an electric car like me, which has just gobs of noise, the only way to get that down, wire the radio directly to the battery and do lots of bonding, a lot of bonding.
Yeah, well, I did that, and I'm on 40 meters. I get 500-mile hops from here to the workshop every day into Germany and Poland and the Netherlands, which to you lot is DX, but to me is just just fun guys around the corner. 500 miles easily, and as you probably some of you know, I sat at a beach with this 5-foot whip for 40 meters, numbered all the way around the world. I couldn't believe it. So, but unless you try these things, and as Josh says, I was very careful with the bonding, grounding everything. It worked straight out of the box. First time, I was amazed, Bob.
I did my first Pota activation Well, the first Pota activation that I recorded, which went up on my channel last week, I got out there and I set up my 31 foot flagpole fiberglass antenna, and I broke it because I misconfigured it. So I thought, well, heck, I'm here. I'm just going to take my coax and run it to my mobile antenna on my truck, and I run it down and I set on a picnic table with my IC7300. That's the latest video on my channel, so you guys go watch it. And it's this $65 Chinese tap antenna that looks like an MFJ. It's a copy of an MFJ, which is probably a copy of like a diamond or something, right? So it's tuned to 20 meters, and I hit the tuner on my IC7300, and it went that fast. So I'm like, okay, it's probably pretty close then. So I sat there and I'm sitting down here on lake level. There's a lake behind me. There's a lake here, and it goes up the hill like maybe 8 or 10 feet, and then my truck's up there at the parking lot, the metal antenna on the back of my pickup truck. And I made my 10 Pota contacts in like 25 minutes. It was easy. I'm like, I thought this would be hard. It was not. I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, and I don't have proper grounding on my truck right now at all. So I'm just like, holy, and a part of it was just that the IC7300 is an awesome radio. But I'm like, gosh, if I could do this driving down the road, I'd be really happy. So it doesn't actually take as much as you think it does. If you've got something like an ATA, an ATOS antenna, or a Tar Heel of any kind, or heaven forbid a Scorpion antenna, my goodness, you're going to do just fine.
Yeah, even
ham
sticks.
Who's getting beat up back here?
Yeah.
You are, Bob.
A lot of people
Bob.
just use ham sticks.
Ham
They'll
sticks
do a mag
That's what I was
mount,
going to go on about.
and they'll have a 20-meter ham stick and a 40-meter ham stick, and they'll just swap them out, driving to work on the 20 and driving home on the 40, whatever. And that's very inexpensive to get into it. And believe it or not, if you do the work, as has been mentioned, to bond it, you'll do pretty well, because it's actually a nice little floating kind of ground plane you've got going on the road. And I mean, I can consistently talk to Virginia from Southern California, to friends I have in Virginia and actually in Florida, on my ATOS 100 watts with no problem. They say it's, S7 noise, or I'm at an S7. So, hey, that's more than capable on 100 watts.
Yeah. And that's what I do. I don't bother with, like, here, if I don't know how you can see it, but this is New Mexico. I'm running a QSO party, and this is how I do mobile. I don't really operate while rolling down the road. I got a little table, get my laptop out, and since this was for a QSO party, I was giving out contacts, and I think I gave out like 200, maybe 100 contacts in about a couple hours time on a county line. It was wanted, so I was people were looking for me, and I was spotted. But like I have a bunch of ham sticks on the ground. I just like screw them into this little spring mount, and it works great. I don't do any bonding. It's, the car's off, so there's no noise. I just, I really love trunk clip mounts. If you have like a sedan or a 4-door, I have a Forester now, and so I need to get something that clamps onto the roof rack or something, like, but so I haven't done any HF mobile with that, but that will be my next plan.
You bring up a really good point on the trunk mounts. So most of the trunk mounts are good for VHF, UHF antennas. They're kind of designed for that. When you start stepping up into screwdriver antennas, they have considerably more wind load. So you're going to need to have a mount that is appropriate for the antenna you're going to run, because you could actually fold this thing over, damage your hood or trunk or whatever it's connected to. So take a little bit of time if you're going to consider, the screwdrivers, the ATOS. The ATOS is less of a problem because that's pretty thin. But if you're going to like a Scorpion, those are really big antennas.
Yeah.
And you got to consider where you're mounting.
I've seen people actually anchor like the one part of the antenna to like their door, or they'll like clamp in a piece of string so that when they're going on the road and the antenna is flailing backwards, it's held up in tension.
Yeah.
So it doesn't rip your trunk off. Because they will, like, they're huge.
Oh yeah, they're no. I saw a guy one time with like one of those what's that car that's made that's gosh, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like an SUV, and it's like a really boxy looking SUV, and he had a Tar Heel 2 on a 3-magnet mag mount on top of his car. And he had and that's what he had. He had like fishing line looking stuff that goes into from the center of the tar heel to like the front of the windshield. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you get a lot of wind resistance driving down the road with that freaking thing. It was, but he's like, man, I talk all over the country, all over the world with this thing. I'm like, I don't doubt it. It's a great setup, just not at 75 miles an hour.
It's got to make noise while he's driving, right?
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah.
A whistle.
Yeah.
My
I just stay on,
VHF antenna whistles like crazy.
I tend to just stay on 2 meters when I'm mobile. I don't have an HF setup. I use the time back and forth to work, talk to the guys on the local analog repeater.
Nice.
Nice simple setup, but still get some radio time in when I'm back and forth to work. Might throw a mobile in at some point, and if I do, it'll be just ham sticks, like you guys said, just something simple. But right now, I use my mobile time just for 2 meters to keep that going.
Yeah,
I'm the same
pretty
way.
much the same way. I do 2 meter 440, the local repeaters here, and there's one of my repeaters.
Yeah, with Bob, I should do DMR stuff.
So it's just not ham radio, I guess. I guess I'm not a real ham.
It's not real radio, man.
Doesn't count.
Not a
I
ham.
like to take that on road trips, but I want HF in the truck on road trips. And if I'm in a dead spot, or if I'm just not able to get out and get contacts, then I'll switch over to the DMR stuff.
Well, I got a CB in the Jeep, so that's HF, right?
Technically it is. Yes, that's true. But I really like doing HF on longer road trips. If I'm driving a couple hours or more, I'll just I like to put that up. And even with the ham stick, it works really well.
Remind people too, in the mornings, there's all kinds of HF nets.
Yeah.
As you're commuting to work, there's all kinds of nets you can hop into.
Yep.
There's a couple of them that'll hop into and check in. Those are a lot of fun because they actually there's all kinds of situations where you'll get kind of a priority if you mention mobile. This is one of the instances where you'll get they'll bump you up a little bit to get you checked in if you are on mobile, which is it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That trick works for parks on the air too. I always jump to try to get the mobile guy in.
Yeah, well, or the QRP
point.
guy, right?
If you say QRP, then they ignore you.
Yeah, don't say QRP. Say mobile.
Oh,
or portable.
I've had the opposite experience. When I was in Costa Rica and I would hear QRP stations, I'd be like, and working pilots, it'd be like, okay, everybody shut up. If you're QRP, come on. And I'd work 2 or 3 QRP stations, then I'd go back to the regular ones.
Well, those are good inviting operators. Not the guys that are like, QRP.
Not the guys running 3,000 watts who can't hear their next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, I've got a problem with guys calling QRP for the sympathy vote. That's my problem.
Oh, well, okay. Now that's a different story. Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually call it QRM. I'm just letting everybody know that I have problems.
That's awesome. Oh,
I'm going to try that.
Quiet.
Call QRM one day.
Oh, QRM, yeah. That's good. That's good.
Nice.
Not my dog.
180.
Yeah, no, that's my dog. That's my dog. So what radio you guys use? But we heard the 857 and the IC 706 and I think 7000.
7100 is doable. 7100 is doable, but you got to get special and fancy with the mounts.
Yeah.
I would like it. It was already said that looks like something that would fit better on my nightstand in my bedroom than in a car. But you can do it. You can make it work.
I still think the 702 or 706 Mark II G or the 7000 IC 7000 are like the optimal solution for me because you have a remote head you can put anywhere and it's very compact and small. You don't have to worry about that dumb beveled edge.
But it's so old. It's so old.
What really has changed in the last 10 years? For like the 7100,
Josh, and it'll be new.
No, right. The 891 is the newest thing on the market, I think, other than the 7100.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the 891 and the 891 would be good. I mean.
It is good.
It is good. If you're talking about just HF, so you're giving up your all mode VHF and UHF with an 891. But yes,
but it's good on HF versus the 857 is not good on HF.
The 857 is good on HF. The 891 is just better on HF.
not. Everybody knows I'm not a fan of the 857. It's not a great receiver in comparison to 891. It's just not. And
I don't like Yaesu in the first place, but
we know that.
Yeah. But the 891, I had really good luck with it when the short period of time that I owned one and used one. I thought yeah, you're right. The receiver on that is much better.
And the DSP is fantastic.
Yes.
That's probably the best part about that radio. Mm-hmm. It is very good with the DSP mode.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I mean, I guess I could throw it over to the 7100. The 7100 is all band, and it does have D-Star enabled, so you could technically D-Star HF.
But it doesn't have a tuner. Oh my God, it doesn't have a tuner.
Well, but you get away from that because you're on a screwdriver or a ham stick, right? You're not worried about tuners in this situation. That's not a big deal because you're fixing all that based off your antenna. Your antenna is your tuner, if you will.
So on our last video where we talked about, here's my dog, one of my dogs. She wants to talk about something. So on our last video that we talked about radios, several people said 857, 897, 891, 706, 7000, 7100 was mentioned. I had a comment on the video afterwards that said, nobody ever mentioned the 991A. And my first response to that, and I didn't type this out, was because, well, that radio sucks. So, you know. That might
Shots
be why.
fired.
Don't hold back.
No, I'm just, I'm making a small joke, but seriously, what do you guys, does anyone use a 991A?
Never used one.
I think my background would tell you what I use.
My buddy crammed a 7300 into his car, and that's what he uses.
That was pretty slick.
Yeah.
Custom built bezel for it, an aluminum enclosure so that it's not going to get ripped off. But yeah, he crammed that into a very tiny car, and he kills it on that thing. He still runs the ATOS, but he uses a controller to go up and down the band.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
I think the biggest thing that the manufacturers really need to start thinking about now is making a small remote head something like that head.
And that needs another $400 head. Radio's $425, the head's $400.
Well, it is what it is. But if they could do something like that, I think they'll open up the market. It'll be a huge thing just to take a good solid HF rig right now and implement a new modern head to it. I mean, you don't have to redesign the whole radio.
So what do you guys think about like a double DIN size car stereo type radio plug-in? Pull the old radio out, put this thing in. I don't listen to the radio in my car anyway.
I think there's just not enough space. There's not enough space, though, to put all that radio into that area.
No, just the head unit.
For the double DIN, there'd be enough space for the double DIN, I think.
Oh, you're saying like remote radio, like going over the internet back to your home shack?
No. Like take an 891 is smaller than a double DIN car stereo.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And then just embedding it in the dashboard kind of thing?
I mean, the 891's a single DIN almost.
Right. I've talked to some people who said that they were working on a VHF, UHF dual band mobile radio that would do that. That would be a double DIN and would fit in your car. It would actually receive FM, like all the Chinese radios do. Receive FM.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it would also you could switch it to a different mode and do a 2-meter 440 FM transceiver. So,
they're doing it with phones now.
Right.
So why not do that with an HF radio? It's, kind of get with the times.
Totally.
I can't give up FM. I need my slow jam.
Kenny G on the way to work.
We've overrun our 20 minutes.
Yes. We have.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to bed.
Let me close it down. We're going to close that down. Okay. Let me get right here. Hey guys, thanks for watching tonight. If you have my comment about the 991A was a joke, but nobody picked up on that. So, if you have anything else to say in the comments below, please put your comments below. Be sure to subscribe to all of these channels below that are linked in the YouTube description. And thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.